Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I am Madcapper and this is another video on Raid Shadow Legends. Today I want to talk to you about the top 5 stop building, do not touch, do not pass go, do not collect $200. These are the top 5 worst epics that I have experienced in Raid Shadow Legends. Also, right away I want to tell you, watch the video, let me know in the comments down below which you think are worse than the ones I mentioned. There are a couple champions that I've yet to get to build and test out. And there's a couple of personal hates that I'm going to do honorable mentions that may not be the worst in the game, but I just find their kits so frustrating and so ridiculous that to me they are garbage. But this 5, I don't like them. I don't like how they were implemented. I don't like, in some cases, they were implemented with a specific feature in mind. And it's a feature that either we don't need, don't use, is irrelevant, or what have you. So here it is, my top 5 worst epics in Raid Shadow Legends. Coming in at number 5 is Corpse Collector. Now that might be a surprise to some of you. She did receive a buff, and her kit, when you read the individual components, sounds not that bad, but the reality is the kit really works against itself. And let's just start with the aura. First of all, the aura increases ally accuracy in arena battles. Well, this is not an arena champion. This is not a champion you would bring to the arena, in my opinion. So why would you even have an accuracy in arena battles? It doesn't help at all. It's confusing and it makes no sense. Her A3 in of itself looks really good. Hey, screams clan boss. You've got attacks 3 times at random, has a bookable 100% on a 4-turn cooldown to place 3 poisons. That sounds amazing. Also puts a veil on herself. Not a huge deal because it's a veil, not a perfect veil, but it does mitigate some of the damage she's taking. Sounds good. But here's the crux. If you're going to take her into the clan boss, you've wasted it, because 2 debuffs, not 1, but 2 debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown are going to take up slots on the clan boss, and neither of them do a lick of difference to the clan boss. That's heal reduction and decrease accuracy. I will say the decrease accuracy part matches with the arena, but then if you're going to talk arena, then why would you have Noxious Escape, which doesn't really play very well to the arena? 3 times at random for poisons, and it doesn't do a ton of damage. Just seems like a pointless one. I wanted to put her in here not because I don't think she's good, but because I think she's very poorly created. I think she's almost good in several areas. She's even usable, and I bet you'll get a lot of comments down below, people saying, oh, Corpse Collector, I used her for this, I used her for this. But the reality is, if you're going to use her in Clan Boss, you're wasting slots, and there's way better champions nowadays, especially with poisons that can just do better without taking up those stupid, useless slots. And on the flip side, if you're talking arena, there are so many better champions to use in the arena. Yes, that decreased accuracy is nice, but that's assuming you can put enough accuracy on this champion to be able to land that. Her damage isn't particularly special. She does have a leech, which again goes to the clan boss. Now, I will say this, one caveat. I'm looking at these kits in synergy when I'm talking bottom 5. If you have this champion and you build her, you could easily lock out Hailfire and just use your A3, A1 with an accuracy lead, especially early to mid game. And this champion would actually be very solid in the clan boss. So she is bottom 5 simply because of how her kit is so garbage with each other. And I'm saying you can use her definitely, but the problem is if you have to lock out skills completely just to make someone useful, this isn't like Allure where her other skills are useful but not useful for Fire Knight, so you lock them out or you change them. Now you can actually use her other skills in the first 2 waves and then on the boss lock them out. Just because her A1 is so strong, you want to get back to the A1. This isn't a case of her going back to the A1 because it's so strong. It's a case of her A2 being so incorrect, so opposite of what she should be able to do. Change her, give her an aura that's all battles, or why not have a clan boss aura? I don't understand why we don't have a clan boss aura. And change this Hailfire to something else, or change this to something else that makes more sense. Maybe a turn meter mess up. I just think that overall, this champion makes no sense to me. And though her individual components are very strong, at the end of the day, it's just too confusing. You might as well just use your Kale, use your Dark Kale, use your Frozen Banshee, use your 100 other champions nowadays with 5% poisons, and just save your money on this champion. Number 4 on the list is Tashata. Tashata absolutely infuriates me for the similar reasons anyway that Corpse Collector infuriates me. Is she usable? Yes. She has an aura that works in faction crypts, 20% speeds, pretty strong aura, very nice to have. However, Barbarians has become a very strong, very strong faction, so there's a lot more champions in there that can help you get through that. Plus, it's one of the easier faction wars battles for the boss at 21, so it's kind of like, okay, but what am I losing out? So first off, she has this only available when an ally is dead, and then it has to kill an enemy and then revive a random ally with 40% HP. If she kills a target, damage based on defense attack. I hate that. I absolutely loathe that. Anytime, those are two polar opposites, attack and defense on a champion. Plus, if you look at her maximum carnage, she has a weaken, so are you going to want to put accuracy on her as well? So now you got to build her with a defense, attack, and accuracy. This hits 3 times at random. I hate 3 times at random, but I have to get over it. 50% chance. The chance of placing increases to 100 on critical hits, so that's really good. But here's my problem, and I said it in the original video I created for her. If critical changes it to 100%, what a waste of books just to get to a cooldown. What a stupid, you get the chance to make it 75, but you're gonna build her critical. She has to kill people with this. So you're always gonna be critical. You're always gonna be critical. The only time it's not gonna be critical if it's a weak hit, but guess what? She can't land the buff if it's a weak hit, so it's irrelevant. If it's reaction gear, does reaction gear turn it into a weak hit? I don't know. I can't think of a scenario where any of this makes sense. It's such a waste and it's so stupid, especially when there's a cooldown. So if you're using this champion, you're going to want that cooldown. What a dumb ability. And then she has an increased attack on this champion. She's a defense-based champion. If you look at her starting skills, she's got 1387 defense and only 826 attack. So you're boosting your attack with your A1 when your attack is so low, and you have to make choices because you need accuracy, you need defense, you need speed. It's just, this champion, to make this champion good, the gear you need to have would need to be the perfect 4-slotted gear, where every piece of gear has defense, attack, and accuracy on it. Oh, and don't forget crit damage, crit rate, speed. So if we ever get any 6 ability gear, then maybe I'll review this champion. But I just think she is awful. She's awfully designed. I think she needs to be relooked at. It's almost embarrassing the way that this champion was designed. But the one asterisk is, of course, she's got that aura. So I guess if you have her, you can use her for the aura. But it seems like what a waste. What a waste of a perfectly, possibly good champion. So number 4 on my list is Tashata. Number 3 on my list is Vildrax, and I'm going to start by prefacing by saying this champion is very well designed. It's very well created. It makes perfect sense for an ability that nobody uses. If Hex was a more usable, more likable system, I've done Hydra Boss time and time again, and every time Brute Force or Geomancer or Splash Damage is just a better version than trying to use these Hex-based champions to get the head of Confusion. I don't remember. The head that you can't target, or it redirects your target 90% of the time. So the whole purpose of that is you put a Hex on that boss, you can target them, and that's where this champion was made. And you see, it can still... So first off, let's just talk about... We'll get back to the passive, because the passive absolutely infuriates me as well. Attacks all enemies, increases the duration of all enemy debuffs. Beautiful. When hitting Hex under Hex, it also puts one of their skills on cooldown. Oh, that sounds like an amazing ability. Duke of Flies. Attacks all enemies. Hex debuff. It's 100% when booked. Beautiful. Well built. Also has elites. That's always very good in any sort of big battle. Now, here's the problem I have. Hex is clearly focused on Hydra. There's no... I mean, Hex is an added bonus if it's in arena, if it's in, regular battles, but you're not building champions around Hex for any other content than theoretically Hydra. So we have Hex on Hydra. Okay, so now does not work against bosses. So the passive of this champion, who's a Hex-based champion, who most likely would be used, if anywhere, in Hydra's passive doesn't work against Hydra. So number 2, also puts one of their skills on cooldown. Guess what does not work for bosses? Cooldowns. So now you've got 2 of the 3 abilities. So this is just attacking all enemies and putting Hex, and this is just Leech. So you have a Hex Leech champion. And why? On the flip side, if you're not fighting bosses, if you're fighting waves, sure, this might be great. But again, even say you take this, I don't know, into Dragon. Why would you want to waste a skill slot on someone who has to take so many turns, has to use their A2, then their A3, their passive has to hit, and then maybe an A1 for the boss level? It just makes no sense to me. It's a champion that looks good, should be good. If Hex were ever a thing, it would be great. But even if Hex was a great thing, and even if Hydra was revamped to be more friendly to all levels of players, this champion still can't use this, and the extra Hex piece of this is useless against Hydra. So it's such an unfortunate ability. This should work against Hydra. Why can't we take a 1-turn cooldown even, or just increases their cooldowns by 1 on their... Wouldn't this be an amazing champion if you could go into Hydra, place Hex, and then this champion would actually place one of their skills on cooldown? Holy, this would be the greatest champion since Geomancer for the Hydra boss. But nah, instead, we're just going to make it a kind of a wishy-washy champion that's kind of useless in the game. Number 2 on my list, and let me tell you, I was tempted. I was sorely tempted to put this champion as number 1. This champion was the most disappointing champion I have seen in Raid Shadow Legends ever. This is a login champion that you get after playing 271 plus days, after getting Cleopteryx. Then you get Scion. Ooh, so you get to win. I will also tell you that this is one of my most viewed videos, is the I Built Them series on Scion. The reason for that is, as people get them, they go, what is Scion good for? So they go and they look for a video. Maybe they go to Yumi Love. I'm not sure if my video is linked to Yumi Love. I probably should have known that before mentioning it. But I do have a couple of my videos, thank you very much, Yumi Love, that are linked to it. And the utter disappointment that people have when they see what this champion can do. I have had comments, people saying, well, I used this champion in, and here's a TLDR. Every single champion in this game can be used somewhere. You can make them work. But if you have to make a champion work, what it means is the second you get a champion that just will work, that makes sense, this champion's out the window. And let's take a look. This, enemies under block active, block buffs, heal reductions cannot decrease this champion's turn meter. Great. Removes all debuffs from this champion, attacks all enemies, places a 50% increased attack and crit damage on this champion for 1 turn after attacking. Now, I thought at first it sounded like then the turn ends and they don't get to keep that, but they do actually keep it. So their second turn, they get a 1-turn single champion, increase attack, increase crit damage. This champion doesn't do that much damage. And what are you really giving it to? You're giving it to this. This is the ability that you're going to do this, followed by this. So the next turn, attacks one enemy, places a block buff debuff, and a heal reduction debuff for 2 turns. Ignores any shield buffs. So, okay, I can ignore shields. Or you can just bring a strip champion, or you can bring one of the other champions that's way better in ignored shields, or you can just bring a champion that's so strong that it can blow through shields. No AoE. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. Heal reduction. There's already so many champions with heal reduction. Half the time heal reduction is more annoying than it's worth. And then, of course, you have the block active skills. So you have a block buffs and a block active skills. Each are a one turn ability. And then Incarnate allows it so he doesn't lose turn meter against those 1 champion. So the thought might be here, okay, so I can block active skills on their booster. But if you're already fast enough to beat out their booster, you might as well just try to kill them, stun them, freeze them. I think a single target to try to get rid of their Arbiter, using Evil Seed or Nightmare Kopesh. First, keep in mind that this is going to be your default, so you're going to use this. And if you don't use this first, then you're using this first to block them out, but then you're not getting all the bonuses of having an increase in attack for the one turn when you use this. So it's so confusing and messed up. And the fact that this is the free login champion that used to be a 5-star chicken and a sacred shard is, if for no other reason, the general principle that this champion should be on this list, number 2 and almost number 1. But next, let's just talk about our number 1 hated champion. I want to do a few honorable mentions here. This champion would not be on the bottom 5 because Torture Helm can do Dragon 20 solo with Food Farm, so that it inherently makes him useful. Also, his A2 hits like a Mack truck. That unkillable passive is actually really cool. But the reason why I just want to honorably mention is because the HP champion, with his HP being the most important part because it's hit so hard, has an attack and defense modifier on his A1, which is so ridiculously stupidly programmed that he deserves an honorable mention on this list. And there are more champions like this, but this one's the most recent to mind, so I thought I would mention. And the other honorable mention, I hated this champion before, I still hate this champion now. I get that Enervation can be used because it has the decreases target turn meter by 30%. But you're bringing in a champion, taking a slot, so that they can decrease turn meter by 100% every 3 turns. And what do they do the other turns? They put an increased defense on this champion and heals this champion for 20%. There are epics that do that for everyone. There are plenty of epics that have an AoE increased defense and or a heals champion. So why would I bring this champion in? What would the purpose be? And then attacks a single enemy with an accuracy debuff. Great. Definitely this champion should have very strong accuracy, so decreasing a single target. It's a 50% chance. But that's the 3rd turn. By the time you get to this, it's probably going to be irrelevant because the other team has already burned out their skills. So think of it this way. Say you go first, this guy takes turn meter from 1 champion. Well, there's 5 on a wave, so that means there's 4 other champions using their skills. Then on the 2nd turn, they just decide to, I'm just going to heal myself and ignore everything else going around me because I'm the most important me, lich, la la la. Now, the other 4 champions by that time have gotten a chance to go. So now their biggest skills, typically their debuff skills and damage skills and all that, have been taken. Now, this champion's okay, but maybe some of your other champions aren't. And then finally, after they've done that, and sometimes 2 cases, right, for 4 of the 5 have gone twice, depending on if you're going first, go second, then you're putting a decreased accuracy. Can you imagine? They have Madame Ceres, she's used her A3 to strip and debuff you. She's used her A2 to fear you. And then after that, Lich comes in and goes, ha ha! I have now put decreased accuracy on your Madame Ceres. You're locked out. That's not, it doesn't matter anymore. Yeah, exactly. Lich, honorable mention. But number 1 on the list coming up, and I think it's a pretty strong agreement from the community on the number 1 here, if you haven't already guessed it. I even hate that she's wearing blue lipstick. And that's irrational. There is no reason why I should hate that she's wearing blue lipstick, but she's such a bad champion that I even hate that. She looks creepy. She's old model. She's got a nice sword. Looks cool. It's very big. The handle is it a 7-handed sword? Because I can't fathom in what world you need that large of a pommel. That is the longest pommel in the... This is a PG rated channel, therefore I will not tell you. The only thing I can think of that pommel being useful for. I guess you could hit someone over the head, so you're like swinging and then you give them the butt end. I don't know, it just seems so... Look at her hands, they're wee. She could put 10 hands on there. Is that a 4-handed sword? It's a 2-person sword. Great, another thing that Woad Painting's good for. Here's why Woad Painting is so bad. She's a single attack. She puts a block active skills. She's based on attack and HP, and I've already talked at nauseum how much I hate these double modifiers. The damage inflicted is proportional to this champion's max HP. So the damage inflicted is proportional to her HP, so you're going to be focusing on giving her HP, and yet it modifies it on attack. Block active skills, well, a decent debuff. It's a single target on her hardest or her quote-unquote big skill, right? Undying Fury removes all debuffs from this champion, then fully heals this champion, then places a 30% reflect damage buff on this champion. The problem is reflect damage is such a trash ability. The only use for it in reality is if you're up against the Fire Knight in the earlier game and you have to take the hits on him, and it helps you open up the shield because the reflect damage counts as a hit against the shield. So this is a single target reflect, so it's useless. I don't think there should be a single target reflect until they fix reflect damage. It should be pure damage, not modified damage. So whatever damage that the incoming damage would have done before it takes into account defense, shields, everything else, if it reflected that raw damage back, reflect damage would be strong and it would be cool and we'd all be happy, but it doesn't. So this is essentially the most useful. I mean, I guess it cleanses one single champion. She's an epic that cleanses herself. Her and Lich could have fun playing patty cake with each other, healing themselves and putting up their own defenses and ignoring the rest of their team that's dying around them. And then attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing block active skills, again attack and HP. And here's the worst part. She's got decent HP, her attack is kind of low, but why even mention attack? Because that A3 needs to be conditionally strong on how much HP, what her max HP is. It makes no sense. So here's the deal. This is why she's the worst champion in Raid Shadow Legends. In order for her to do anything, she has to have gear among the level of what you would give Magnar, who is the hardest hitting epic champion in the game and one of the top champions to use in anytime you need nuke strength. His A2 hits ridiculous. He's an HP based champion. She doesn't hit nearly as hard as him, and she's only hitting a single target. So why would I do that? Why would I bother wasting HP gear when it's for a champion that doesn't effectively do anything? A burnt out A2 that's just a trash. It's a trash ability. Block actives, both single target. She's probably going to attack the same target because AI, and the damage is so underwhelming. If this damage were so overwhelming that you'd be like, oh my god, build her out 100k, she's hitting bosses for 253, like, you know, some of the other champions, like Hexia, for example. Hexia's kit looks a bit underwhelming, but when you see the level of damage she can do on her skills, you're like, oh, I get it. If Woad Painted were that level, then we could forgive it. If Woad Painted's damage was so ridiculous, if she had such a high attack modifier that if you had her at 80k with 3k attack and you put an attack up on her, that she would just devastate people, that would be amazing. But it isn't, so she isn't, and that's why she's my least liked, the worst champion among epics in Raid Shadow Legends. I want to thank you for joining me for this video. I hope it was a little bit entertaining. Let me know, like I said at the beginning, what's your least favorite champion? Leave it in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check out, I'm sure it's somewhere around here by now, check out the I Quit reaction video, and then head over to Stu's and Jeezy, Jesus Christ Gaming. Head over to their channels and see the React. It's we're having a lot of fun in the last couple days here. Many thanks to Jay Giggs, who kicked it off with his hour-long reaction video to a reaction video of a video, which is pure comedic genius. Once again, Jay Giggs, you've done it. Thank you, my friend. That's all I have for you today. I want to thank you for watching this. If you did enjoy it, please like and subscribe. And of course, as always, we'll see you in the next video.